Hi, my name's Eric Skoglund, and I'm the debate coach at Olathe Northwest High School in Kansas. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for volunteering to judge some policy debate for us or for some other tournament in state. We really can't do this activity without each and every one of your help. This video is going to give you a brief tutorial about the nuts and bolts of how policy debate is judged and what you'll need to do. There is separately a video that might be shared with you that involves some of the basic terminology that you might encounter as you are judging. So in general, this video was hopefully sent to you with a confirmation from the tournament where you're judging, which has more detailed information about exactly where you need to be and what time you need to be there. When you get to the school, find where the judge table is and check in. They'll either hand you a ballot directly, or they'll tell you to wait in the hospitality room or somewhere else to find out where you will be judging next. Each time you judge a debate, you'll complete a ballot indicating your decision and the reason for that decision, and then you'll return that ballot to tournament staff. If you're only at the tournament for one round, that concludes your obligation to the tournament. If you are there for multiple rounds, when you return the ballot, you'll likely get another one handed to you. In debate, we are not able to pay all of our judges, or even most of our judges, so we do try to say thank you by providing food and drink for you in between rounds and before and after rounds in our tournament's hospitality room. This is also usually a good place to hang out if you are on standby for a round, so that way we can come find you if you end up being needed for a particular debate. When you check in, you will likely receive either a ballot or schedule which has the room number where you're going to go at a scheduled time. A few judges might be placed on what's called standby. That indicates that we have some judges who don't currently have a round, but might be used as a substitute. I want to reassure you that every single one of you is vital to our tournament functioning. But of course, sometimes things happen in adults' lives, and sometimes things happen in the students' lives who are coming to our tournament, so that we have to have a little bit of a cushion of extra people who don't end up getting to judge every single debate. It is a random determination. It is certainly not any kind of a judgment about how good or bad you are as a critic of policy debate. We generally ask that you try to be in your room at least 5 minutes before the round is scheduled to start. Obviously, if there's still a round going on, you can kind of wait outside for that round to complete before you go into the room for the next debate. Desks are usually fair game to move around, but other things in classrooms generally ought to stay put. And above all, make sure that you and the debaters do not unplug anything in any of the competition rooms. These are actual classrooms whose teachers are usually letting the debate program use their rooms out of the goodness of their hearts, and we sure don't want to give them any reason to regret that decision. A brief note that some of you may find yourself on what's called a panel of judges. That's a round which is judged by 3 judges instead of 1. If you're in that situation, firstly, you should never ever allow a debate to begin if there is an even number of people thinking they are judging that debate. 2 judges means we don't have a decision sometimes because you could oppose each other. 4 judges usually means that something has gone wrong with the way the tournament is communicating. Most rounds should have either 1 judge or 3 judges. If you do find yourself on a panel of judges, it's very important that you come to your decision independently of the other judges on the panel. You can talk about the round after you have completed your ballot, but please do not confer during the debate or after the debate prior to filling out your own ballot and making your own decision. We want all 3 decisions in that situation to be independent of one another. Here briefly is the structure of how a debate round works. There are 2 teams of 2 students each from different schools. One team has been assigned the affirmative and one team has been assigned the negative. It's important that you know that those are assigned, that they don't get to pick which side of the debate they're going to be on in a particular round. Students will often have to find evidence and argumentation that supports claims that are different from their own personal opinion. And so similarly, we ask judges to try their best to keep personal opinion out of the debate when they're judging. A debate is not a yelling match. There is structured speech time for each team and structured time when one team cross-examines people from the other team. During the debate also, each team has 8 minutes of prep time which they may use prior to any speech. In most of your debates, the teams will probably keep track of this. You should not have to do anything yourself. You might also observe a lot of teams choosing to share the evidence that they read with one another, either before or after speeches. That depends on the circuit norm that they're in and what specific rules their tournament is choosing to follow. On the right, you can see the speech order of the debate. In blue are the speeches given by the affirmative team. You'll see they get to speak first and last in the debate. In the red color, you'll see the negative speeches. In the middle of the debate, you'll see there are 2 negative speeches that happen back to back. That's called the negative block. And then the 4 indicated in yellow times are the times when one speaker from the opposing team will cross-examine someone who's just spoken. The C speeches are called the constructives. They're when teams generally are building up their arguments. And the R speeches are called the rebuttals. Those are generally when teams should be summarizing and finalizing their message to you as the judge. This is what a debate ballot looks like. There are a number of things that you might see on this or various other formats of ballots. But key information you'll want to know about is the room number where your debate is located. If you have trouble finding that, ask a student or other member of the tournament staff and they'll help you out. There will often be the start time of the debate. This would be your name here. You'll have some kind of codes for the 2 teams. Sometimes those codes will tell you what schools the teams are from. Sometimes there'll be some kind of a numerical code as you see here. And then you'll have the debaters' names. Below that, you'll have some way to indicate who won the debate and a space to write your comments. To fill out the ballot, there's a couple things you'll need to do. If your ballot is this form, it's coming from a website called tabroom.com, which many tournaments are now using as a way of organizing and structuring their tournaments. Before the debate, your teams will need to identify which of them is the first speaker and which of them is the second speaker, and they can either write that on the ballot or they can tell you and you can fill this in. That's important for us to have so that way we know that you've ranked the speakers correctly according to the way that you intended to rank them. After the round, you need to identify the winning team and the side. You make sure that these match. And you also will rank the 4 speakers in the round. The best speaker in the round you'll give the 1, the second best the 2, the next best the 3, the next best the 4. The only rule is that the ranks must match your decision. For instance, in this debate, I've written a ballot for the affirmative, where the affirmative has 4 total ranks and the negative has 6. The affirmative has better ranks, so this is an okay ballot. The winning team just cannot have worse total ranks than the losing team, so if these were the ranks that I was going to choose, I could not have those ranks and also vote negative in the debate. It's possible for the ranks to tie, for each team to have a total of 5, and then you can vote either affirmative or negative. Most judges decide who won the debate first, and then they establish the ranks as part of how that decision takes place. The most important thing that you provide to our students, though, is the comments that you give to them after the debate is over, written on your ballot. Students will learn from those comments, and so more comments is always better. The more insight you can give us as to why you voted the way you voted, the better our students can prepare and learn from that debate. Positive feedback is always important. We love for our students to get positive feedback. But also make sure that you clearly explain why you decided the way you did. It can be very frustrating for a team to have only positive notes, but then find out they lost the team and they were ranked 3rd and 4th speakers in the round. That team wants to know what they could have done better and ways that they can improve. Again, please limit your comments to the round in question. If you think of this perfect argument that just destroys one of the things one of the teams was saying, if it wasn't brought up in the debate, it's probably not that valuable to comment on most of the time, and it certainly shouldn't be a part of your decision. You should decide based on what the 2 teams of debaters said to you in the round. Some of the most helpful feedback you can give relates to both the presentation that the students have given as well as the argumentation they are using. Some feedback on presentation might include whether or not the student had an appropriate amount of eye contact with you as the audience, the poise and professionalism with which the student presented, the clarity the student spoke with. Did the student speak at an appropriate pace and volume such as you could understand what was being said? You can also focus on the argumentation side of things, the actual value of the things that were being said. Was that argumentation properly organized? Did it have a logical flow? Were the claims being made valid? Did they explain ideas when they got complicated? And most importantly, this is a debate, not just competitive saying words. Did they refute the claims the other team was making? Did they answer each other, or did they just spout off? Some feedback should be only used with caution. In particular, we want our debate community to be a safe place for all of our students to learn and grow as debaters. So please, if you're going to give some of these comments, just check yourself in your brain real fast to see if you would give the same feedback to a student who was of a different gender, racial background, or otherwise different from the student you're speaking about. In particular, be aware of comments about aggressive and assertive behavior, the pitch of a student's voice, or the appropriateness or inappropriateness of some humor they may have injected into the round. There are a lot of other ways where this can take place, but mostly those are some of the comments that we see sometimes that cause us to be a little concerned that not all our students are getting equal shakes. There are also some comments that we would ask that you avoid. First and foremost, please do not give any feedback, positive or negative, about the attire or appearance of a student. Those comments are often misconstrued when they are written from an adult that the student has no connection with other than the ballot that you're writing. Additionally, we'd like you to try and evaluate the quality of argumentation first. If you do have a concern about attire or appearance, it is better to communicate that through the tournament staff so that way the student's coach can be the one who can have that conversation with a student. They might have a better relationship with the student than obviously you would from just watching them for a single debate round. In general, also avoid comments that are outside of students' control, and avoid making arguments yourself on the ballot rather than arguments that were within the debate. The process of a debate round, you'll have a lot of interactions with the students. Many students will introduce themselves in some way prior to the debate beginning. It is appropriate for them to ask you for some kind of a paradigm, judging preferences, or ask about your prior experience with debate. You are welcome to answer or choose not to answer as you like. However, once the debate begins, you really shouldn't be an active participant in that debate unless an emergency situation comes up. You should not be directly verbally interacting with the students. Of course, nonverbal communication is fine and often very welcome by the kids. After the round, students might thank you for your time, and they might ask for feedback. Again, this is your choice. Hopefully you've just written a brilliant ballot that explains a lot of good feedback for both teams. And it is totally fine for you to say, you know what, I wrote a lot of great comments for you on the ballot. I'd like that to kind of be able to stand on its own. The most important thing that I can communicate here in this short video, though, is that you as the judge are the authority and you are correct whatever decision you make. What the role of the judge is in a debate is to determine who did the better job of debating. That is a phrase that you can define however you like. Our students are coached to communicate to a variety of audiences. If you don't understand an argument, that's not your fault. That's their failure to communicate it effectively to you, and you should share that information on the ballot. It also might be helpful to you to know that in Kansas there is specifically a rule prohibiting students or coaches from negatively confronting you about the decisions you've made in a debate. The decision you make is final, and the tournament will stand behind you. If you ever have specific questions that come up in a particular debate, sometimes tournament staff can help you walk through them, but we will usually stop short of making a decision on your behalf. If you say, well, what would happen in this specific situation? Here's what happened in my round. What we're going to tell you most likely is, that sounds very interesting. Please make your decision based on what you understood to happen in the round. But at the bottom line, whether you vote affirmative or whether you vote negative, the judge is always right. Again, thank you for coming out to support our program, and we certainly hope we'll see you at a number of tournaments in the future.